in terms of what we normally think of as things. So that's why I say the physical reality is very different from what appears in the mind. So what appears in the mind is very much things, or we think in terms of particles and those sorts of things. What is actually in the physical reality turns out to be nothing like we imagine it to be. But I believe there is a physical reality. The word thing doesn't apply to it. There is no thingness to it, but there is a physical reality, and that physical reality interacts with us in such a way that I create this experience full of the thinginess and that.
If we take a step back and look at our three-dimensional reality, how do we know that's all there is? The book Flatland, which is now also a fun and educational movie, tells the story of two-dimensional world. The main character is visited by a being from the third dimension, whom he can't comprehend until his awareness is expanded to include three dimensions. Once his awareness is expanded, a whole new world is opened up for him, and as he returns to Flatland, if this is the case, why do we seem to only operate in three dimensions? Could it be that there are things going on all around us that never enters into our three-dimensional awareness? Could it be just like the main character in Flatland and we just need to have our awareness expanded? For example, if I were to insert my arm into a fourth spatial dimension and say, "Hey, look over there, can you see that?" You probably wouldn't be able to see where my arm went because currently your awareness only includes three dimensions.
Get down to the quantum level of subatomic particles, things get very crazy. And anybody who tells you that physics is either enlightened or lying, because it's a huge thing to wrap your mind around and be able to understand it precisely. And I think that when you unify all the forces, you begin to understand so much more about the nature of reality. There's a lot of paradoxes that take place. So, but at the subatomic level, when you rip atoms apart, we're looking at nothing but frequency. We're looking at nothing but information and vibration. And the most classical picture of an atom with the solar system and the planets rotating around the central nucleus is just not the way it is. If you look at a quantum model of an atom, you would see nothing, zero, like just a blank space. That's closer to what it is because it's a frequency. And so mind and matter are commingled at the subatomic level. You can't have matter without mind. And they're not separate like Newton and Descartes thought, but in fact, they're very, very related. As a matter of fact, you can't have an experiment in quantum physics without an observer, without a mind observing it. And so reality, in a sense, is an illusion, because if we see that we're made up of tissues and a body's made up of systems, which is made up of organs, which is made up of tissues, which is made up of cells, which is made up of molecules, which is made up of chemicals. 99% of the atom is nothing. So then you look solid to me, but fundamentally 99% of you is nothing. So it's persistent because it appears very solid to you and I, because we're very sensual experience here, the sensory experience. But in fact, theoretically, it's an illusion, but a persistent illusion because it continues to show up consistently based on our subjective mind. Change subjective mind, according to the quantum theory, truly change subjective mind. And the objective world should change in some way.
Open the door to our recognizing that we've left something out, and it's mainly this thing called the observer effect. The fact that when I observe something, I alter what's being observed. Look at the objective reality, the mechanical reality, the fact that things out there seem to obey laws. to Newton, this was just like, wow, how is it that things obey these laws? I mean, my God, planets, everything's regulated, everything's on a timetable. How is that possible? The way these things behave. So that became the primary way of thinking, and it affected everything from psychology to business to Darwinian evolution to biology.
Light is coming into your eye on the back of your optic nerve, and then your brain is constructing a view of your brain forms its view by sensory input from your 5 common senses. Your brain never experiences anything directly. It's actually impossible for it to do so. Think about this for a moment. Your brain has never been exposed to light, and yet you can describe light for hours. Everything you've ever described and everything you will ever describe about anything is all just your interpretation of electrical impulses as they hit your brain. It gets even crazier as you step back and understand what's actually going on. Your interpretation occurs in one moment. You're already 2 levels removed from that experience. It would be like reading a book written in Chinese, translated to German, and then translated to English. You think something would be lost along the way? As you start to go down this road, your direct experiences and your feelings become your measuring stick, not the intellectual concepts.